One way to think about what economic discourses do is that they are a theodicy. A theodicy is a theological story that justifies God in the face of the existence of evil. Okay? So we have a conception of God who created the world, and God, because we are thinking about him in terms of Greek philosophy, is all-knowing, all-powerful, and all good. Okay? Now, this creates a paradox. I'm sure you've thought of this before. If God is all good and all powerful and he created the world, then why is there evil in it? Because that would seem to contradict the fact that he's all good. What Nietzsche and Bitzler are saying is that there is a power relation that is anterior or prior to the economic process, such that we can't even think about economics without thinking about this prior problem of power that is itself not economic necessarily, strictly speaking, okay? Now, the problem is, and this is what comes out in the reviews, that Nietzsche and Bitzler don't really have a theory of that. What is that kind of power? They have a theory about why it matters, and their theory is that it is necessary for capitalization, because capitalization is really the threat of sabotage. We'll talk more about this as we go on, right? So they have a theory for why it matters and for what it does in economics. But as one of the reviewers noticed, right? I mean, their definition of it is weird. It doesn't fit with what they really need it to do, because they say something like power is the capacity to command obedience or something like this. So they end up with kind of this, well, it's a kind of sociological theory of powers, kind of, but it's also a theory of power that only goes one way. It's a theory of power that only goes from the owners of capital downwards. The alternative approach that Nietzsche and Bitzler and Bob Meister, both in slightly different ways, set us down is to question this assumption. And I think the easiest way to see why this assumption might not be a good one is to think about why it might be valuable to have the right but not the obligation to make a decision in the future, and why this ability to decide might be valuable independent of the value of the thing that it references, okay? There might be something about the option itself, the optionality of the option, that cannot be directly understood as a reference to the value of the underlying of the thing that the option is about. And the way to begin to see this is to begin by observing the fact that in financial markets, for reasons we can get into in more detail, but I'm trying to lay out the concepts first before we get lost in details. What options really price in financial markets is volatility, is uncertainty. And options are going to be more valuable the more volatile the underlying of the option is, okay? So options allow you to price the volatility, the uncertainty of what's going to happen with the price of the underlying, separately from the thing itself or from its absolute direction. Markets price and profit from anxiety about the market's own non-existence. If everybody were absolutely certain that the market would exist in the future, then it'd actually be hard for banks to make money, because what they are pricing is risk. And so it's necessary for there to be risk. Now, social movements, by threatening capitalism, make it more risky. They increase the risk of its future non-existence. Now, the problem is that increases the thing that financial institutions are profiting from. So the more risky the future of capitalism becomes, the more that financial actors that are profiting from volatility, the more money they make. Now, the question is, well, so this is Bob's question, can a social movement create a financial technology that will allow it to profit from the uncertainty that it itself creates in order to fund the movement?